Hi guys! I would like to share with you my favorite art supplies of 2017. And I am sorry it took me so long, but I always want to get to know paints, brushes, papers before I recommend these to others. My favorite watercolor paper that I have been using all year long has been Arches. Arches makes 3 types of watercolor papers: cold pressed, hot pressed, and rough. If you ask me which one is my favorite paper, it would be very difficult to answer. It's like having to choose which one of your kids you love the most. You love them all equally, but in a different, special way. This is how I feel about papers. I often go back and forth between cold pressed, rough, and hot pressed. And last year and beginning of this year, I was mostly painting on hot pressed, but then I started using more cold pressed. Last few months, I fell in love with rough watercolor paper, especially the heavier weight papers like 300 pounds, 400 pounds. They have a ton of texture, and although they seem to be difficult to paint details, I find my ways and add enough layers to create contrasts and nice vibrant colors. I love blocks because they are super easy to use. With the blocks, you don't have to worry about your paper buckling or moving. The paper is glued by 4 sides. Once you're done painting, you just rip the paper out of a block. I often paint on sheets, so I get 22 by 30 large papers and cut them into smaller pieces. I then lay my watercolor paper on the glass so the water and paint help the paper to stay in place. Next are my paints. A lot of you already know I love Holbein. I love Holbein watercolors because they're very vibrant. I don't have to use that many layers to create that vibrancy. The colors don't fade. If left on a folding palette, they don't crack and they don't mold. You can keep reusing as long as you wish. You just have to add water to reactivate the paint. I prefer tubes from solid form watercolors because for the most part I do paint in larger washes. I also feel like I get more out of a tube. It lasts longer. My first Holbein set of smallest tubes is still here with me. I only ran out of 3 colors. Although I have added a lot of different colors to complete my palette, I still have a lot of the small tubes and I keep using them because they really last for a long time. I love Holbein because it's easy to lift the paint and they just don't add ox gall to their paints. I keep my brushes in jars and I divide them based on the purpose and shape. So this jar is mostly full of angular brushes and flat brushes. This one is larger brushes and mostly black velvet by Silver Brush as well. And the next one is mostly liner brushes. And this one, larger round brushes. And then smallest brushes. Lots of ultra mini small round brushes. I love using washi tape to tape my paper for a white frame. Then Holbein aluminum folding palette. Next, I also use this FineLine applicator for art masking fluid for watercolors. Now for the brushes, it took me a while to find brushes I really like to use. And when you choose your brushes, it is important that your brush holds water and that your brush keeps its shape, so the hair doesn't spread after you dipped it in water. I like silver brushes a lot, and my favorite series are Black Velvet, Golden Natural, and Ultra Mini. Black Velvet brushes are great because they can hold a lot of fluid and they still snap back to its original shape. They're partially natural squirrel and synthetic. My favorite part about round brushes is that they have a pointy end. They are so useful when I paint animals or flowers. I can create a long stroke without going yet for a rigger brush. I use the most round 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. Then script liner 1, and I also like that flat brush, actually half, 3/4, and 1 inch. Ultra mini brushes are amazing too because they are so fine and so small for the smallest details. I use a liner brush 20/0 a lot when I paint the smallest, tiniest hair, especially on animals. I use the shader brush 10/0 when I paint eyes or some other details such as flower stamens. So I like these a lot. The third series by Silver Brush I like a lot. It's Golden Natural. They carry two types of round brushes. I like the smallest ones, best 00001 and 2, and then I go for the larger sizes like Designer Round, which has a long pointed end. It's number 12. I very often use Golden Natural Script Liner Brush size 0. It's very smooth and it's perfect for creating long, thin lines. I use it when I paint hair, fur, eyelashes, flower stamens, and one of my favorite brushes also of all times is Angular Brush, and I use a lot sizes 3/8, half of an inch, and 3/4. I will create another video where I demonstrate what brushes I use for certain strokes or techniques. Next brushes I have been using but not too long are Princeton brushes. I like their Elite round brushes a lot and some of the Neptune brushes as well. But again, I haven't painted with them long enough this year. So far so good, but I still need to paint a little longer to feel them out. And that will be something I will be doing next year. Thank you so much for your support.